Welcome to South Harmon. Welcome to South Harmon. Hey, welcome to South Harmon. We glad you here today. Another AMA. Ask me anything. Super chat is cool if you wanna pay to play. Like and subscribe, that's what we really appreciate. Let me introduce you to the tear down king. Mike McNutty, ask your questions, he'll answer anything. ATM, you know I don't put them graphics on the screen. Glad you tapped in now, stay tapped in for the team. Hey, everything is posted. Go follow the socials. South Harmon FF tag us if we get noticed. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Another AMA. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today.
Oh yeah, we are live in 2025. It's a new year.
Yes, sir.
It's a new day. Fizzle's here. Maddie may or may not be here. We have a power outage in the Northeast, and I'll be honest, man, I had to leave the Ohio State game a little early. Luckily, we were able to do that because roads here a little crazy, man.
Yeah, the score actually helped you too, right?
Big time.
Because if it was a close game, I would have been like,
I would have been like, listen, man, y'all see me late for AMA before. We gonna find out how this goes.
For real.
Nah, but it was listen, I just want to give everybody wish them a happy new year, kicking it with us. Mm-hmm. Crazy, man. 2025 for guys in the age range of Fizzle and I just sounds crazy, to be honest. But
sounds crazy, bro. Hey, listen, this is my 20-year anniversary from high school, so that lets you know something.
Okay. So dang. All right. You them 05 boys.
Yep. Yes, sir.
I was 07. So okay. Well, Fizz, I want to real quickly touch on a couple things. One, for you in 2024 as we pivot into 2025, anything from this year stand out in particular? Whatever. It doesn't have to be fantasy football related. Can be whatever you want it to be. But from 24 going into 25 that stands out to you, you're looking forward to in 25.
So what you mean, like
anything? It is there is no like walls
you.
On this. Just whatever you got in mind.
I don't know, bro. I mean, 2024. It went by, man. These nowadays, everything go by so fast, bro. I can't even remember like January of last year, right? I'm saying, trying to think what was I doing last year in January? Like, I have no clue to keep it 100 with you. Yeah, I think I could say my best thing that happened was me joining y'all and having a show, right? Like I think me and Mike went over this last week on one of the shows. I think May 10th. Was my first episode. So May 10th was my first episode. And it's been up since there. You know what I'm saying? I could tell like I've grown, got a little better, a little bit more stage presence, you know what I'm saying? And going into 2025, I just plan on getting better, bro. This is my time. Like the off season where it ain't nothing else to do. This is my creative time to just reach out, find new people, find new things and ideas. So I'm actually going to enjoy this time. Because I don't have any rules, you know what I'm saying? There's no rules, no cards on the table. I could just create my own and do what I want to do. So that's what I'm looking for most forward to this year. Just no rules, doing what I want to being creative.
I like that. I like for me this off season, like it's crazy because you can't wait for football to come around, right? And then football is here, and then it feels like it's kind of a chaotic ride throughout the year, but it kind of goes slow sometimes during the days, but then all of a sudden you blink and it's gone. In the off season, though, what I like is that we have a slower, less hectic pace, let me say, because you go to Keep Trade Cut right now in the season, bro, it's kind of insane to think about assets that probably shouldn't have gone up or down by too much, that fluctuated 40, 50 points. So it's a little bit of a slower pace, but also it's really fun for a lot of different avenues for us here where we get to, dive into some film sessions, right? We get to dig a little more into the analytics side and look at these prospects and profiles. And speaking of which, pivoting into 2024, we knew was a great class, right? We knew as far as the value went. Like that much we could say up front. How these players are going to actually perform, we can't guarantee you because anybody that was not going to go out on a limb that seemed way wrong would have told you Marv was in a position to guarantee smash. Marv wasn't actually the one that smashed. As a matter of fact, we have multiple receivers in this class that have done better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to get into some of the historic numbers here, but I'm curious for you on this class here. Like, what are your thoughts and overall takeaways as we kind of wrap up the fantasy season and think about how these players performed, and then ultimately, like, moving into next year, what do we think about them?
We talking just the receivers tonight, right?
Yeah, it's, and a receiver or a tight end, whatever you want to categorize them. Brock Bowers will get thrown in that mix, but yeah,
I just want to make sure because I ain't want to dig too deep in no other position, but
sure.
I mean, hey, like you just said, bro, Marv was going 101 in front of Caleb and Jaden in a lot of drafts. Like I took him 101 in the league that I didn't necessarily need a quarterback in, but to see he doesn't have a connection with Kyler yet, and I think it's more. I think it more so started off with Kyler, but I think Marv has to kind of establish himself. I spoke on this Tuesday morning when I said I think Marv is a little too cool, man. I think he got to get a little bit. I mean, this is rookie year. He got time to grow. But if he anything like his father, we never saw his father really get animated in a sense. He kind of just went out there, balled out, and did his thing. I think now in today's game, like Malik Nabers, right? Malik Nabers was on one of the worst teams in the league. Mm-hmm. But he kind of looked like a guy that demanded the ball. Like, I demand respect. You're going to give me the ball because I'm the best player, period. Mm-hmm. Marv doesn't have that swagger yet. So I think once he gets it, we'll see it. But until he get it, it's kind of like, Kyler, can you give me the ball, please? Like, it ain't no, you know what I'm saying? This summer, it ain't no more please, bro. Give me the ball. I'm that dude. That's why they drafted me. That's kind of how you got to approach this offseason with Kyler. But overall, with this class, I think we learned a lot about kind of where players went and the best fits for them. Like, I think Ladd is where he's supposed to be. He took Keenan Allen's role and just kind of added a little seasoning on it and he's a little more shiftier. But
a little salt and pepper, I like that.
Yeah, he pretty much replaced Keenan Allen with some youth and a little bit more sizzle. So Ladd is where I think he needs to be. Marv is, like I said, I think he can grow with Kyler. I just think Kyler has to really step up as a veteran quarterback. And Malik Nabers, of course, like I said, he got that swagger, man. No matter what the score is, how bad the record is, give me the ball, man. I'm the best player on this field, period. End of the day, you know what I'm saying? I'm that guy. So Keon Coleman, he got hurt, but you could tell later on, man, I think he needed Amari Cooper, right? When we look at Dallas, when Dallas got rid of Dez Bryant and we had Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup wasn't a 101. We wanted him to be, but he wasn't. Then when we brought Amari Cooper over there, you saw Gallup the next year have 1,400 yards, blah, blah. So as you can see, Cooper is a 101. He needs to have – Keon needed Cooper on that team to kind of help him grow and be, his role, almost like a Devonta Smith with Philly. So with this class, though, man, we hit on all cylinders as far as draft points, right? Ladd, second-round guy. Keon, second-round guy. Marv – 105, 106s. Brock Bowers, 108, 109-ish, 107 sometime. Rome, I mean, for the best ball leaguers, Rome he gave you about a good four weeks, man, of, 20 points there. I mean, it was all garbage time, but a lot of times Rome, popped in. But you see the potential. You see Keenan Allen out for maybe after this season going back to LA or wherever he wants to go. You definitely saw Rome and what he can be. So if you can get him now, get him now. But long story short, man, this is a great class for pass receivers. And I think they're going to do nothing but grow pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, well, what's interesting to me, there's a lot of things actually, but Marv, when you look at this, right, I think one of the things with him was with the Bengals, the reality, I think, there was we saw Chase go to play with Burrow, his teammate, and we thought Burrow was going to be really good. I think we liked that a lot, but that team wasn't, solidified yet. They were actually still pretty bad. That's why they were able to draft Jamar Chase. Now, not saying that the Cardinals wasn't the same sentiment. They were able to draft Marv, but I think people thought that Kyler just needed a weapon. Marv was the 101 prospect, I had him in the same tier as Malik and as Rome, but still with a lean to Marv. So you're like, this guy is one of the best prospects we've seen. He's up there with any of them. He's going to a situation where Kyler is looking for a weapon. And the weird part was, like, it wasn't an injury that took place. There wasn't something that got in his way other than the connection. Now, I will say I'm not panicked on it. I think they already made comments about how Kyler and him, they're going to try to, so to speak, lock themselves in a gym, man. I think they need to do that. I think they will. I think the chemistry will get there. I do think, listen, man, Kyler's had some demeanor, I don't want to call it character issues, but the gaming, whatever. I think if these two guys get serious with each other, the talent will handle itself. But pivoting away from Marv, I don't want to talk too much about him because the crazy part is if you told me Marv flopped, or I won't even say flop, but just disappointed, right, relative to expectations, and you're telling me this class is still going to be historic, I'd be like, they're talented, but I don't know about historic. I want to give you context here. Going into this week for receiving yards, rookie receiving yards, okay? Puka, as we know, has the record 1486. Inside the top 12 are Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, and Malik Nabers, all still with a game to play.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you say you don't want to run on Marv, but Marv is literally 188 yards from 1,000 himself. So for him to have a bad season, he still hit, I think, 822. So with one game left, right? Let's just say he have a big game and put up 188 yards. He hit 1,000. So technically, it's been a great season for all these rookie receivers, man.
Well, and that's why I want to also put the context there where Marv's expectations were through the roof, and they should have been. And I don't think I still think he disappointed relative to that. But the reality is it's partly jaded because we're seeing a lot of other people succeed because guess who else is ahead of him? Ladd McConkey.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey's at 10:54, about to pass AJ Green. I don't think we quite realize at the moment what's happening because, to your point, Rome showed flashes. I think he showed enough to me. You look at a guy like JSN, right? Rome showed enough and checked enough boxes where this was not a good season for you production-wise, but I think, in a disappointing offense and an inconsistent offense, showed enough promise and checked enough of the boxes to be like, okay, he's taking the next step. Slower production than you wanted. But just think about this for Malik Nabers, all right? I talked about this. I know a lot of people were really down on the situation, and rightfully so. It's a horrible situation. But right now, when you look at targets, okay, in the NFL history, 165, Anquan Bolden. It's the most ever. He's already passed Puka. But remember he had a concussion? This is in 14 games. This is in 14 games. He's going to have the most targets in the history of the NFL missing time. Now, bro, check this out. If you go to targets, right, per game, and you shake that out, he's at 11.57 targets per game in his rookie season. Most in the NFL by leaps and bounds. Whether it's just force-feeding him or he's earning them or a combination, that stat is impossible to ignore. That is absolutely ridiculous. I want to give you guys some context from rookie seasons. Jalen Waddle, remember we felt like Tua force-fed Jalen Waddle. 8.75 targets per game relative to 11.57. Puka Nacua, 9.41. Anquan Bolden, one of the best rookie receivers in history, 10.31. Odell was at 10.83. Like he's in his own territory for target earning. And we all can admit that there's nothing but improvement to be had from the quarterback position and just continuity in this offense. So Malik to me is just crazy, bro, honestly.
Wan'Dale Robinson was getting about 12 to 14 for about a good 6-7 weeks early in season 2. So it wasn't like Malik was just getting all the targets. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, man, was getting fed early in the season, man. He actually was a breakout for a lot of best ball teams.
Sure.
He
was a nice little season, he was a nice little later pick hit, or if you held on to him.
It paid off. It paid off if you had him. So yeah, man, Malik, though, like I said, my messed up this year. My goal was thinking that the Giants are going to be so bad, I'm not going to draft Malik. Because at some point, someone's going to draft him and be like, basically, I thought he was going to be what Marv is, where, oh, man, he ain't do what I want him to do. I need to get rid of him and re-roll this first-round pick. And that's when I was going to try to slide in hey, I got a first for 2025 plus. Let me get Malik. That was my goal of not drafting Malik, but unfortunately, Marv was the one that ended up taking that role. So
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a good point, not from the Malik Nabers per se, or Roma Dunze per se, or Marvin Harrison per se, right? One of the things I try to do in the player agnostic region, right? And believe me, if you know and you followed me long enough, you know I have some of the worst hits, and when I say that, misses of all time, okay? But when it comes to like groupthink that gets really strong, I always try to make sure I'm thinking of all the options. And one of the things that I just felt like wasn't talked about with Malik, because it didn't make sense really, right? People didn't think, okay, we know they're going to force feed him. They drafted him very high, and while they knew they needed a quarterback in a quarterback class. So we kind of expected him to get a force fed a bunch of targets, but we didn't expect him to do shit with them. And the fact that he has done stuff with them, and that's where I talked about with him, if he ends up actually smashing in any type of a situation like that, like look at Drake London and Garrett Wilson to point to, right? And you're like, okay, those guys didn't really do shit, but they showed a lot of promise because they earned a lot of targets. Mm-hmm. What if he actually hits? And now Malik Nabers, for the record, put this out there as well. He at receptions, right now it's neck and neck as far as who's going to get it, right? We got 105 was Puka last year. Right now, with a game to go, Malik Nabers at 104, Brock Bowers at 108. I want you to think about this, guys. We are looking at two players going head-to-head in the final week for the rookie record of receptions.
Rookies, yeah.
One of which is a tight end.
Plus on terrible teams. We're not even talking about explosive offenses where they putting up 40 points. If one of these rookies play for the Bengals, we could probably understand it, right? Bengals putting up 40 points a game. They chasing out the points. Joe Burrow leading the league in passing. These are receivers and tight ends getting catches from Aiden O'Connell and Drew Lock. And, I mean, that's just crazy to think, right, that they can break records, rookie records at that, with these quarterbacks, man. That's just crazy.
Right. And, I mean, when you put some other things in context from Malik, and then I want to get to Brian Thomas, and I want to get to a little more Brock Bowers as well, because I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to discount what they have done, because they have been awesome.
No. Oh, no.
So as I'm pulling up Warp here, what I wanted to talk about with Malik, right, this last game, in a game where all they have to do is lose, literally all the Giants have to do is lose, and they get the number one pick probably, and all that the Colts have to do is win, and they can control their own destiny. Literally, you're talking about like the worst case scenarios for these teams with nothing on the line.
Nothing.
Malik Nabers he's one of 9 players to go over 170 this year, and I shouldn't say that. One of 9 occasions, 3 times it was Jamar Chase. Like he's smashed. He's had spike weeks and consistency weeks with horrible situation. Now we'll see what happens ultimately, like with them bringing in target competition with quarterback play. But right now, Malik is separating himself, at least for me, into I'm honestly going to put him into the elite tier. And I also think in this offseason it's very important to keep in mind a guy this talented, that's done this much, that's this young, right or wrong, that's just an asset that people don't want to move and will pay the moon for. And so that's one I want to have so I can flip, if anything, if not keep him. Curious what your thoughts are with him right now going into the –
I was just about to say, I'm going to give you some love, man, because I remember from day one, you was Malik. You was standing on Malik Nabers. Like I do remember, hearing you repeat that name through the process, and I was like, I'm going to buy him later, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I know for sure your 2 guys this year were Garrett Wilson and Malik Nabers. You was a Garrett Wilson. That was your,
And Garrett Wilson let me down, damn it, because of freaking Aaron Rodgers.
But I don't think Garrett Wilson let you down. It was the Jets that let you down. Like,
fair.
Some reason, he got more receptions when Adams got there than he did before Adams got there. Like, I don't even understand that. Seemed like his bigger games was when he actually had competition. Like, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers had going on, but forget the Jets, they trash, man. But yeah, the Malik Nabers process, though.
Easily, Trenton. Sorry, go ahead, Fizz.
Malik Nabers process, though, I think, honestly, he pretty much separated himself. Like you said, in that elite tier, in this class, he's a step ahead above all those guys. Like, he pretty much is the 101 that we was redrafting in the receiver position. Mm-hmm. And like you said, when it comes to them elite guys, he's one of them ones, man. He's definitely a top 15 pick next year, maybe 12.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, including Superflex, he's going to be a first round pick for sure.
That's what I'm saying. I know you. I said 15 because I'm a guess that we got Jaden Daniels now who's locked in.
Yep, quarterback is still there for sure.
Exactly. Let's just say Caleb Williams gets the right OC, right? He gets Ben Johnson. That's gonna move him up maybe 3 or 4 spots that people wouldn't have drafted him. Kyler might move. I mean, we're gonna have different people moving around. So I would say at least 4. I would say at least 14. Malik Nabers is going because right behind the CeeDee Lamb, Chase, and Jefferson. I mean, Nabers might be 4 or 5, right? I mean, he's right on the cusp. I'm gonna put Puka there because I'm a Puka guy, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think Puka by himself with Kupp getting a little older and longer than the tooth, man. I think a full year of Puka, I think Puka would have been. I always said he was going to be receiver 1 this year. Probably still wouldn't have because Chase is on a tear.
Mm-hmm.
But a healthy Puka, from looking at what he's done since he's been back, I don't see why he couldn't be receiver 3 at least. So I would still put Puka at 4 behind CD, but Malik can be number 5 if I had to really rank it.
Damn. Well, I will say I respect it, and I think at the end of the day, the upper echelon is very, very good right now. Like there's a clear cut. Now you can make a clear cut at whether it's 8, whether you want to put Brian Thomas in there or not. I think you could definitely make a case of up to 8 because you got Nico in there as well. But I will say this. I just want to give some context this year, right? Malik Nabers is wide receiver 7 in WARP. That's not that's accounting for the fact that he missed 2 games. All right, this is just regular WARP throughout the finish. When you go to 2021, which I want to go back and look and think about Jamar Chase, who had Burrow, right? Jamar Chase had Burrow. I don't know what he actually is. I just want to pull it up because, guys, he's wide receiver 6. Like, if you told me that Malik Nabers is incredibly talented in an elite tier, and with Drew Lock and going back and forth between him and Tommy Colcuts and Danny Dimes being relegated to be a strong safety in practice, and they're gonna do the same as in rookies. What? I'm gonna tell you the truth.
About this.
Go ahead.
If he get that Shador Sanders sweepstakes, they ain't gonna do nothing but boost him up even higher, man. People gonna be they're gonna be infatuated with the the new toy, man. The wave of the prime time real estate is in town, man. So everybody's gonna boost him up a little bit more, especially if you was one of the guys that got Shador in your rookie draft. Oh, you definitely gonna want Malik Nabers. You might even overpay for Malik Nabers because you're gonna want to have that 1-2 punch for the next couple of years. So, I'll tell you, I think the right quarterback can boost him up even more. Oh, we got super chat too, though, bro.
Yeah,
hey, man, shout out to everybody in chat, man. I know I'm not an AMA Wednesday guy, man, but I see a lot of guys in the super chat, man, showing love. So appreciate y'all coming through.
Deep C
with the super chat, man. I ain't seen his name in a while, and maybe I've been sleeping on
and you know what he should. He did what he needed to by coming through with a super chat. I told him on the damn AMA. I love Deep C for the record. All right, DC's my dog, but he's like, listen, man, me and you are going to be playing in the championship game in this league, and I'm like, what are you doing? You are out here going to curse us, man, Mike. I always do that, by the way. I go to say Mike just out of habit. Like I basically say his name. Let's pause.
You good, bro? I ain't even hear it. Keep it a buck with you.
But here, what I wanted to say was I'm trying to actually do 2 things at once. What I was going to try to do is get the cash up for him because that's a $20 super chat, but I changed the screen. Here's what I'll say about Deep C, right? And Fizz, this is crazy. I was the number 1 team. I lost, I think, only a couple games of the median, right? All season. Get a bye, of course, after this. Lose in the first round of the second round. And Deep C and I had CD. I had a whole bunch of things. I wasn't going to win in the championship anyway, but I did have to make a point to make sure I beat Deep C. It was for a small little prize, which I don't care about. I had to make sure Deep C get that fourth.
Your pride was more than the prize, right? Your pride was the prize.
But I will say, Mike won the league. So while that's good for us, it's bad for me because, we like to talk shit regardless. But if we have an actual reason to, then we're going to really talk some shit. Appreciate it though, Deep C, and I know Deep C had some good success this year. Appreciate you tapping in and giving us a super chat, my friend. I will say
for sure.
I talk my shit, but willing to eat when I'm wrong. I will say, Deep C, this is becoming a tradition, man. That apology, damn, I thought I had it. It's all right. 2025 maybe will be a year, you know. Appreciate the love, though. I have the 101 and the 106. Who should I get? I got second place this year. I could ... Nothing after that.
I ain't seen Rob in a minute either. What's up, Rob?
What's up, Rob? You been how long you been retired now? Been living good?
Yeah, I will say with Shaq, man. That's why I ain't seen him.
This class here, 2025, and I was speaking of which Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, if he was coming out this year, would be the 101. But he's not coming out for another couple of years.
Hey, 2027, baby. Get your draft picks ready.
Load him up.
Load him up.
Bruh, Jeremiah Smith, if that game was close, was on pace for 500 yards in the first quarter.
Bro, listen.
500. He was 118 in the first quarter, y'all.
Not that we didn't already know this, but today, if you didn't know, now you know. Right?
And it was on the biggest stage.
You know what I'm saying?
No, listen.
That's what I'm saying.
No, for sure, because I want to give context to this. His best game of the season was 119 yards. He was one shy of that in the first quarter, and that 119 came against the Western Michigan Broncos. Now, that's not a slight on him. What I'm saying is that what he did in that first quarter.
Oregon today, yeah.
What he did in that first quarter was let everybody know you can't check me. And at 19, if I could be in the draft, teams would be going crazy already. So
for sure.
2027 earlies, this kind of it's going to get the vibe I really feel like because of him of the 2023 where people are going out, and I don't want that 2026 pick. I want that 27 pick. You know, I want to load up that 27 class and try to get some earlies in that class.
Yeah, listen, bro, I'm already starting, man. I've been busting moves for some 2027s, man. Hey, listen, come holler at me, man, if you're in my league, man. You want to pick early this year, you know, second round or something, yeah, we can talk, man, because I need some 27s, baby.
We can always talk, but here's what I'll say. This class right now, it's not complete enough with this information, Rob. I would be doing you a disservice. I'd be being disingenuous to say draft this player at 101 and draft this player at 106.
Adam, I'm going to ask you this, right? Now it's kind of like a rebuttal to what you just said, us not really understanding the class right now. But for those, as we get more and more closer to the dates, we're going to understand, you know, where players should go and where they shouldn't. But for those leagues that we draft before the actual rookie draft, how do you feel about the late first rounders, second round picks, right? Because to me, honestly, I know last year it was a little bit more easy, and I was in a couple leagues where we drafted before the actual rookie draft in the NFL, and I ended up with literally the 203 and like 3 leagues, and I got Ladd in every single one of them. For some reason, Ladd just fell right there, and I got him every time. But I kind of already had my, you know, my mind made up, like if Ladd is here, I'm gonna get him because I wanted Ladd. So coming in this year, how do you think we gonna feel, bro, about those late first, early seconds? Because I'm gonna be honest, man. I know the running backs are pretty much the predominant position of this class, but you might get an Mbuka, you know, get to a nice position. But again, you don't know what team they're gonna go to, right? You don't know what draft spot. You don't know how far. And the running backs can mess around and Caleb Johnson goes in the 3rd round or 4th round because that's what they do to running backs. And now you're like, damn, bro, I took him at the 108 in my draft. You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about late first, early seconds in this class, not knowing where they go, you know, before the draft? Because I think me personally, man, I'm scared. I don't really want to pick like past 106. I'm like, man, come back, you know?
Now, so this is a good question. I think I can speak to from having a lot of hits and more so a lot of misses. And just in general with the pre-draft process, if you have a draft that happens before the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So when I was a big advocate for this, and I still am for the record, right? But for different reasons. At first, I'm like, stand on your process, stand on all the stuff you go over. But the reality is the draft capital is massive for a lot of these players, right? And even if you love the priors you have, the amount of information that changes with the combine and the draft is huge. It can totally shift players. Here's what I'll say about
right.
Was that? Oh, yes, and believe me, it was actually 2022 that taught me my biggest lesson, Fizz. Because I'm
sure people took him at 102, 103, and then the draft happened, and he was like, "Damn,
Fizz, I'm telling you, 22 was my biggest lesson in this type of a draft because it was the first year I had quantity, right? I'd done it before, but not to 10, 12, 15 leagues, whatever it was. And I was like, sure. I was so sure that a lot of these quarterbacks, because of just the thirst at the QB position in the NFL, like much like we're seeing this year, they're going. Oh, my goodness, man. When I tell you I absolutely eroded value, like cleanly just killed it. Bam. Dead. Off. Malik Willis was early. Later in the first round, Matt Corral.
Yep.
I don't need to keep going over the list. Y'all, if you know, you know. I missed a lot of players there. But here's what I'll say. Late first and early second, right? One, those picks are incredibly even and interchangeable in a pre-draft process, other than you get your pick of the litter if you really are bullish on somebody. But the reality is we don't have enough information at that point, and you get a little bit of a lottery feel because you can definitely hit somebody in the late first. Brian Thomas Jr. was one this last year where he was going towards the back half, right? Late first round.
Yeah.
And
109,
he was
like that. Yep.
Yeah, anywhere from 109 to like honestly 201 because of Xavier Worthy and because of these quarterbacks, right? So if you hit
Jonathan Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks.
Was 109, 110. I heard that all summer, man. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that one.
But what's crazy is, right, you then got the draft capital and landing spot, which although wasn't like the craziest and sexiest, Trevor Lawrence was a quarterback that people still lukewarmly at least believed in, right? First round draft capital, 23rd overall. That was you already got a bump in value right then and there. Now that's going to end up ultimately, if you do it in a lot of spots, being weighed out by the misses you have. So if you got Trey Benson, cool. But if you drafted any of the other running backs that didn't, Marshawn Lloyd, if you thought those guys were going, that's part of the burn value. But what I will tell you is, for me, and I hate giving away all the intricacies of my thought process, but I do it. Pre-draft process, if I know my NFL, the draft that I'm having in my rookie draft is before the NFL draft, I lean even further into it to the third round and the fourth round. And those picks I normally were throwing away, I will bulk those things up because the third and fourth round in the pre-NFL draft, littered with hits, brother. Littered with hits.
And it's a little bit of more like you don't feel as bad, right, if they don't hit, because
you expect them to miss.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly, right? When you take somebody at the 201, 109, 110, and they don't do jack shit, you like, damn, bro. You know, I mean, I got Bo Nix in the mid-second in the league, bro, because it was a pre-draft. Like, we didn't know. A lot of people didn't want Bo.
Bo was a
washed-up quarterback.
Bo and Penix ended up going. Those are perfect quarterback examples. Penix and Bo went 8 and 12, where people were very spotty on if they would actually go first round, even though Mox had them.
Exactly.
Those were huge. So those were huge bumps.
So that's what I mean. Like I said, we got more process, but I think this summer that's something I want to touch on, or this off season.
Sure.
Something I want to touch on. Just where do we go with this class, and how do we feel about those late first, early seconds?
Yep.
Because like I said, it's just a process thing where. We like in this class, I know I can tell you 1 through 5. I think I'm okay. 1, maybe 6, maybe 7. But
all right, let's talk about it.
Once you get 8, 9, 10, 11, man, anybody want this? Because I don't want to bet on this one.
If that's the price, absolutely, I want it. I want it, and I want it now. But I'll say this: here's the reality, right? I think one of the biggest things I've learned is mitigating risk and understanding where to do that in the drafts. Meaning, late first. Because I have that pick, I probably in those scenarios, late first, early seconds, I'm shooting my shot on what I believe is a safer player overall. Meaning, mock drafts have him going pretty significantly, consistently in the second round, first round, right? Mm-hmm. I know the community isn't super soured on this player, meaning they don't think he's super, gadgety or not a complete prospect. Those type of things, those little variables, drafting those there. Because here's the thing, even if they end up not getting perfect draft capital, Adonai Mitchell's a perfect example of this. That one you would think really hurt because I took him in the late first and early second. Then when the draft capital came out and he didn't go till the Colts, they already have Michael Pittman. We're not even sure they're kind of a run-heavy team. He started going more like the 208. But here's the thing, right? That loss, if you think about that loss, sucks. But you can flip a 208 type of player and really – you can make that a wash where you don't really lose a whole lot of your dynasty value there, right? Being just, all right, I got Adonai, not what I want. Who can I flip him to? Who's the Adonai lover in this league and just kind of de-risk this? Maybe I don't get out for a full dollar, but I get 80 cents, and I get now to re-roll or replay this hand.
That's the goal.
That's the biggest thing for me. Whereas the shooting for quarterbacks, which this class doesn't have as much of the risk I'm talking about now. The risk is the Penix and the Knicks. Now, when those guys hit, they can go into the first round. Problem is, if you take them and they don't, you are looking at a third, a fourth round, or a completely non-drafted player. So I think it's understanding the player that you're drafting, the range of outcomes for them, and how they will be actually drafted on draft day, and what that range of outcomes actually looks like in their tanking or soaring value. So for me, the quarterbacks at the later part, I'll shoot my shot here and there, but they tend to be a no-no just because – let's say you draft. Okay, where did you draft? Do you remember roughly where you drafted Knicks or Penix in that one?
Well, actually, I didn't. Let me see. I got Knicks. This is like the 204.
Okay, perfect example. That's exactly roughly where he was going, and that's why I want to highlight this.
And I was surprised though. I seen. Well, then granted, this is. I'm not going to brag and say this was the best mindset because Troy Franklin went in front of him. So I'm not, kind of like, what is going on here?
That was a player that I'll tell you, Troy Franklin was one of the rare ones where I thought that was a player that the community loved and that was going to not slip as far as he did. So he was a rare floor fallout guy. But just check this out, right? And this is where we have a lot of cool tools, and Adeko does this really well too. I want to shout this out because the reality is Bo Nix was going in like the second round, mid-second round, early second round in the pre-draft process. He goes 12 to Denver. And as crazy as you may think, do you know what he was going post-draft after the NFL draft? 201, 202, 203, 204. Now, what we know today, holding that is a totally different conversation, but that was a hit, right? Here's the thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The payoff for him getting a first-round draft capital, minimal. If he missed the first round, that floor is going to get scary. If he falls into the later part of the second, like Will Levis was a good example of this a couple years ago. He got early round 2. So it was like, okay, we're safe. He fell a little bit, right? But he wasn't completely out. If he would have if let's say Bo Nix wasn't thought of as well. Now, obviously, you're sitting here today like, nah, he's a good quarterback. He's the Broncos' future. I'm trying to be player agnostic about this and just think about it. If the player that you drafted wasn't actually drafted in the first round, that guy's going in the third round, the fourth round. You're talking about a much different fall and rise typically for the quarterbacks. So for me, those tend to be no-nos until they get to a certain point. Like Penix for me, I remember I drafted him at the 208. I was like, all right, fuck it. Like at this point,
208,
at this point, I'm in. So
yeah, for sure.
And I was not really believing that he was going to be a first round pick. So all that to say,
super chat too, though, Adam. Just whenever you're ready.
I'm out here. See, you know what? I'm rambling, and we need to get the
You gotta get that money flowing, baby.
Hey.
Get that money flowing.
What's up, fellas? I will be in a
E.
fantasy
good,
league next year. Any help, advice for a newbie? Yep. Yeah, a lot of stuff, but
right. Whole lot.
Don't get in the league with Mike. He gonna tear you up.
Nah, I already told him, man. I told him I'm gonna get him ready for this year, man. I tried to hook him up this year. He said he was good. 2025, I got you, Billy boy. We're gonna get you ready, man. We're gonna get you right.
What? Why is it nuts? I don't disagree, but just give me some context.
yeah, for sure. He put it twice too. So
yeah, well, he said shoe, and that could be true as well.
He didn't say it's nuts. He said it's the nuts. So I don't know.
Is the nuts? Like, okay, that's better.
So
I misread that. Good catch. So here's what I'll say in general. In a regular fantasy league, right, just a redraft league, early on, you want to try to, like the first few rounds, they typically won't necessarily win you the league, but they can lose you the league, a la Christian McCaffrey. I try to mitigate risk in the first few rounds, but ultimately, I'll just say this. Any help, advice, it will be here all winter, all spring, all summer,
for sure,
and all the way up until your draft, honest to God.
My biggest advice for anybody joining the new league, though, read your settings. Make sure you understand how many players are starting, because you know if you don't know what you're doing, right? Let's just say super flex. If you don't understand those terms, go Google it. You know what I'm saying? What does this label mean where it says S/FL EX, right? You know what I'm saying? Like read your settings, see how many points the players get, because you got PPR leagues, you got standard leagues. Number one thing to joining the fantasy league, and not even just new, like we've been in the league for 35 years. If you don't know the settings, you can't draft, right? So you got to know the settings, read them. Because I hate in the middle of the draft when people put in the thing, oh, I didn't know that we was doing this. Yeah, bro, you got to read your settings, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's key thing to me, is read those settings, man. Know the point system. See if tight ends score more than receivers, if running backs score more per carry. Like that's like the key language to me for starting any league, is knowing them settings, man.
Nah, settings are huge. And honestly, the crazy part is that's in a way that's like the elementary form of what the Warp tool does. And it's a great point. I have a home league, for the record, right? It's a keeper league that turned into just a redraft league because some of the people just don't care enough ultimately, and they want to keep the same core group of people. So here's the thing about this league, right? You go into all these drafts. I go into all these drafts, and I have all these values, like literally they're etched in my mind. Like if you go back on a prior show, you could see Mike asking me ADP in the offseason, and I'm within a few spots, a lot of them, right? Tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the problem with that is when you get a setting variation that's pretty significant, you got to like rewire. You got to keep rewiring every time you're on the clock, because I'm thinking, man, look at all these damn receivers on the board. This is crazy. But this league, this league is a 0.2 points per catch, so it's almost standard, honestly. And the running back scoring always, even in bad running back years, is better. Not to mention this year they were, they went back to the moon. So that's a great point. You have to understand that. But if you're brand new to it, I think just listening to stuff like this and trying to get familiar, because you could look and say, okay, this is a lineup start 11 and a super flex, but even you Google it, like I played two quarterbacks. You kind of gotta just get familiar with some of the questions. Like here, I got a question. It's not a super chat, but this is some of the ones I want to get to. AMA questions, right? Ask me anything. Ask Fizzle anything. Rob has a question that I want to get to, right? He's talking about with the 101 and 106, he wants to see what he can trade them for, okay? Where is this question? Come on, man.
And also that question about the nuts, he said somebody put that that's a poker gambling term, so that means that's the royal flush. That's the royal flush, baby. So
bang.
My bad, Playboy. Well, I appreciate it. We are the royal flush. You're right, man.
I'm out of the poker game for sure now. I don't play it that often. So here's what he says, right? Could I get Hurts for the 101 and 106 for Love? If Mike was here, he'd be about halfway or more through that cup, and he'd be going crazy right now, telling you, hell no.
I was about to say, if somebody gonna give you Hurts for the 101, bro, you might just need to tip them a third rounder on purpose. Like, here you go. Like,
yeah, you're definitely listen. And I understand. Right? This is the way people think, right? You're always looking for the up tier, get more in your pocket. So I get it. I will say one thing about this class to keep in mind versus last year. Okay, now ultimately we know what Caleb is. We know what Jaden is. But Caleb last year, all offseason, was a late first-round pick in startups, right? So that, because of the quarterback names and because of the fact that we knew he was going to go to the Bears, they basically told us that how many long time ago. Right now we have Shador and Cam Ward that we think are going to go in round one. I think Shador is definitely a lock. I think Cam seems like a lock, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he ended up going later than people think, not necessarily top 5. And all that to say, there's no gemstone in this class that's like, okay, I will pivot off of my Hurts for that. Okay, so that's the biggest reason. If you were talking about this last year and we thought, we know what we know about Caleb, but take away all that knowledge and we like, man, he's got Keenan now, he's got DJ Moore still, he got Rome. There's a whole new shift in culture. Sheesh, this is crazy. So that's why he was going first round. Now you couldn't get it straight up maybe, but you might be able to get it straight up, or you might have to just add a little bit of a plus. You're in the ballpark. Right now, this 101 is not probably even going to be Shador necessarily. So you're not even giving them a quarterback back here. You're thinking of, okay, is it Genty? Is it Travis Hunter? Is it Shador? You don't know. It's not going to speak to Jalen Hurts straight up like it would in a class that's loaded at the quarterback position. So that one there, I just wanted to highlight that point. It's not that you can't package picks to go get a Jalen Hurts, but in this class, the 101 value doesn't have the name cachet tied to it.
But I will say this though, if you are trying to make an offer like that to somebody that had Jalen Hurts, the best time to do that is closer to draft time because that's when the hype gets real. People
Correct.
get a little more antsy, and they just start like overthinking, like, oh man, I really want to get back in this draft. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I'm definitely not trading you Hurts for the 101. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't do it anyway. But if it was to be done, it has to be closer to draft time because people just start getting a little antsy, man. Everybody want to have that. No matter what, nobody wants to be left out of the draft, bro. Even if they won the league last year, that was last year. Nobody cares. Like if you don't have no picks coming into the rookie draft, you looking around at the table like, man, I wish I had some fun today like these dudes. So if you ever gonna send an offer like that, man, it got to be on like near draft time and kind of spice it up a little bit. Give them a little, hey man, hey, I see your team. You need Genty, man. You need this. You know what I'm saying? So you better off trying around draft time, Rob, for sure.
Yeah. So check this out too, right? This is a point that I like to make in the little more of a deeper advanced thinking when we're talking about trading, especially this type of pick leveraging. This is what you're trying to do. This is pick leveraging 101, okay? Not the 101, pick leveraging 101. So right now you're saying, can I get Jalen Hurts for the 101 and can I get 106? Can I get Jordan Love for the 106? I mean, in a theoretical standpoint, I would say it's likely, not likely. However, these could happen. The reality is in this league that you're talking about, Rob, one thing I'm doing first and foremost is I'm looking at the teams and I'm saying, okay, who's got 3 quarterbacks? Because a lot of people, unless they're shitheads, aren't out here going for the, speaking of this is nuts, it's nuts, trying to squeeze your nuts because they got a quarterback horde going. But if you have, all of a sudden they have 3 quarterbacks, even if one is not as high as Jordan Love, let's say Jordan Love is a part of that 3 quarterback room, okay, that now makes Jordan Love potentially a quarterback discussion where, okay, I can get 106. I may need to bring more to the table to get there, but I'm in the range. If someone just has Jordan Love and let's call it, I don't know, Baker Mayfield or name a quarterback in the top 20, if those are their only 2 options, the 106 in this class is likely going to get you no quarterback that's a first round. So I think in general, Rob, I will go to the deepest of deep in thinking and early at this point, but the nuance here is in that league specifically. If you have the 101 and the 106, what are you trying to get? Okay, first and foremost, what does your team need? What are you trying to get? It sounds like you're wanting to get quarterbacks in Superflex. Makes sense. Okay, if we've established that, who are the people that make the most sense to talk to, and then how do I package these picks and the players that I have to ultimately get what I want? Because you have to speak to them in their language, right? 106 to someone that has 2 quarterbacks don't mean shit because it ain't a QB. So those are just some of the finer points to think about.
Personally, Rob, you better off packaging both those 101 and a 106 trying to get Hurts. And if it comes down to it, say,
not if you can get 101, not if you can get Hurts for 101, you just aren't.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying,
right.
I'm just saying, yeah, if you can get for the 101, do it. But if you really set on Hurts and let's just say, I would take Hurts over Love, of course. But if you had to do that and you wanted to figure out a way to make it happen, if you sent the 101 and the 106 for Hurts and maybe a 2027 pick, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of move it back a little bit. Still get a pick back, but kind of move it a year or 2 back. That way they get what they want for right now, and then you get your guy plus a later on pick to bounce back with. So I don't think you can get him for just one of those picks, but you package both of those together, maybe you can get him and a future pick, and both parties are happy, brother. You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
No, for sure. And this is where, for me, when I am rebuilding, or even if not even a full rebuild, right? Retooling, let's say, right? I'm just, for the year, my team didn't quite do as I want to, and I bow out of contention with the idea of competing next year. Pick.
Oh, okay. Hold on, bro. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. He was saying if he can get Hurts for his 101, 106 plus Jordan Love. So he was trying to offer. Okay, all right.
That's a godfather. Well, then let me apologize because all the principles still
right. That's the royal flush right there.
All the principles still apply that we talked about there, but I will say this is a godfather offer that I don't think you have to actually start that strong. Now, I think you could come in with the 101 plus Love as a starting offer. Now, I'm not saying that gets it done, but I think the 101 plus Love here gets it done
I'm
far as a
honest.
negotiation tactic.
I'm be honest, Adam. I think you reached too high. I would go 106 plus Love and then wait for them to ask for the 101. I wouldn't offer the 101 first. I would 106 and Love. You know what I'm saying? Then see what they counter with. And if the 101 has to be added at some point and we figure it out, cool. But I wouldn't start with the 101. I would say 106 and Love and just see how that plays out. You know,
I will. I will
the
say
101 will be my last offer because I would just try my best to keep it if possible.
Sure. Now that's one of the things to keep in mind is of the points you just talked about. There is definitely the 101 is and 106 is too. These picks are going to increase in value for the next 3 months. So 100%. it very well may be better to do this in March.
Yeah, always.
And don't get so antsy because right now what's going to happen, right? Jalen Hurts is going to be playing in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts' value is going to be going up while everyone watching him play in the playoffs. For how long, we don't know. I know Fizz thinks they're probably going to be one and done. But the point here is that with Jalen Hurts, right, if I'm actually trying to go get a asset that I know some people are up and down on the value of him, but this is Jalen Hurts is a top 5 type superflex option player. He's certainly a first-round pick. He's one of the few quarterbacks extremely small list that has rushing Konami upside in a contract. So if the 101 and the 106, the 101 and Jordan Love, let's say, is too heavy for you in your starting offer, what I don't actually want to do though, and this is kind of an interesting thing that I continue to have to remind myself of. We play a game here, right? And we're all, grown men or grown women, right? But I promise you, the days of people being emotionally stable, that's just dead. People, and especially with a guy like Hurts, I've seen a lot of times where if I come in too low, let's say, I'm not even going to say 106 and Jordan Love isn't bad, but someone may not love Jordan Love. And the 106 is like, man, this class is doo-doo. All of a sudden, I'm not saying I can't give them the 101 plus Love, but the whole thing could be stalled out to where you just kind of lowballing me for my elite player. You don't even have to necessarily go 101, but I'm looking at the 3 here. I don't think I would send 106 and Jordan Love unless you think this player has shown you in trades that he really likes to tear down or that he's willing to trade out his premier assets for a package like a 106 and Love. Ultimately, I would say use your own judgment on that based on the person you're dealing with. But I have seen when I lowball somebody, all of a sudden the offer they send back to me look crazy, and we just have this. We're angry at each other and nobody knows why.
What are we doing right now, right?
Like, why am I doing this?
Bro, don't disrespect me, man. Yeah, I'm with you. But I feel like the 106 and Love isn't a bad start of conversation, though. It's not disrespect. I just think if it's the 101, because let's just say this first offer is the 101 in Love, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if he gets a counter, the guy might say, "Oh, he giving up the 101." Now it's like you done tapped your hand out too early. Like I think starting off with the 106 is easy because that way you could build your way up to the 101. But offering a 101 in the beginning, now if they counter, you like, damn, bro, I really ain't trying to add this plus. So I would start with the 106 in Love and just like you said, try to figure out the guy if you know him, if you don't know him, just kind of look at his team, see what he needs. Kind of look at the draft and. Kind of see like, okay, what's going at 106? Okay, he could use this. Plus Love, boom. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't offer the 101 first, though. I would let it end up there. I wouldn't lead there, though.
I'll tell you what I would also consider. I don't know what you have overall team assets. If you tell me your team on the lab, we'll just go ahead and do this. I mean, you might as well have super chatted like more than anybody because we just given you prime time runway here. But one of the things I would probably prefer to do is utilize the 101's premier value and not attach Love to it if I could. Can I send the 101 with a
101 in golf?
A 101 in golf, a 101 in Knicks even. Like there's a little bit higher.
Had a crazy season, bro.
101 in Purdy. 101 in Baker. Yeah. Right?
Well, now he gave us his quarterbacks. He got Lamar, Goff, Love, and Penix. So that's why I said golf because he
then golf. 101 in golf is a fair starting offer. Also, I don't know what the I don't know what the format is here. So if this is like a lineup start 9 or start 10, then I want to make sure.
He got beef. He got beef with the manager, so that's why he sent the overprice. He wanted to send the overprice because he. You see
what I'm saying? It's almost like I have a dirty, weird sense for this thing. I promise it's not a good thing.
You got to overpay.
But
those are people, bro. Rob, you might just have to leave him alone, bro, because he gonna make you overpay. You ain't never going to satisfy him.
I want to give you a little thing that I would do here as well. Fizz, you brought up a good point about how you want to – at that point then, if he counters back, you started the bargaining too high, right? Yeah. One thing I do there is I draw the line in the sand because I know factually, even though people don't want to get off of Jalen Hurts, they want the 101. So, okay, cool. I already sent you my offer. That's my offer. Holler at me in 2 weeks when you got rookie fever. I can see the foam coming from your mouth. And now you might get that offer back. It might not be. You might have to throw me something my way. So I think it's important to know two things with this type of a trade. One, the big boy assets that you're trying to go for here, like a Jalen Hurts, I'm coming correct for those assets. But at the same point, if I have a diamond type piece on my own end as well, and I understand how just the calendar year is going to move that asset up in value, I'm not going to do anything too crazy right now because I know I have 3 months of value bump coming my way for the 101. And the best part about the 101 is the person that gets the 101 from you, maybe they don't care. Maybe they think it's Genty. Maybe they don't. It can be whatever they want it to be, right? It's not a finite. It's not a finite player. So go ahead.
And also try to learn their team. Like, let's just say if one of their favorite teams is one of those top 5 picking teams,
facts,
that might intrigue them a little bit more. Like if they're a Giants fan, hey, what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Y'all quarterback is here. Like a lot of times people, no matter what people tell you, bro, they always draft from, statistical ways, but we always draft with our heart a lot of times, brother. I don't care what nobody tells you. Nobody drafts from just a board unless you're Cooper, and that doesn't count. But outside of Cooper, you're gonna have a little bit of heart in your system, man. And
yeah,
just check out that guy, man. Learn a little bit of his history, man. You know what I'm saying? Kind of use his fandom against him. Yeah,
I look at his transactions prior, and if you could see a helmet in there, if you could see specific
look at his
type
profile
of
picture, all that stuff. Yeah.
If you could see a couple players that he has, like 2, 3, 4 Vikings, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on.
Go to his Instagram, brother. Do whatever you got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at his pictures, check his locations, where he been at, man. That's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, you got to be an investigator on this thing, man.
For sure.
Go
under Dynasty's forever, baby.
All right, Mike's not here. I know what his answer would be. What are we buying, selling Darnold for today? This one's going to be – I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this Detroit game on Monday, and it's going to be interesting to see how he performs and how they do in the playoffs. Because this question is likely without Darnold collapsing, right, in the playoffs or in this game versus Detroit, something like that, where he just goes haywire. If he doesn't do that, this is going to be one of the most asked, most polarizing, most talked about things all offseason. And the best part about stuff like this in the offseason is it's like the stock market doesn't open for months. Like nobody has any actual gauge other than what they feel and what the market's telling them, but people's feelings, right? But there's nothing actionable happening as far as production. There's only a few news cycles that actually mean anything as far as, what teams he actually going to go to, what's his contract going to be, all that stuff. So this one's going to be interesting. Where are you at with him today, though?
I said this, bro, week 1. I said that I think Sam Darnold, me personally, I'm a coach guy. I love coaching. I feel like the O'Connells, the McVays, the Shanahans, those guys Brock Purdy, right? They say he won $60 million. Do we not think that they can go draft Quentin Ewers in the second late round and then bring him into Mr. Irrelevant? Like I'm not saying that he will be Purdy, but I just think Kyle Shanahan can find. I think Sam Darnold would have been what he is today in San Fran if they didn't have Purdy. I truly believe that. So
yeah,
I'm saying that to say I kind of always felt Sam was going to be solid this year. Now, he's having a way better year than what I thought.
But
I didn't know how long he would start either. I just knew he was going to make it hard for J.J. McCarthy for them to just jump and let him back in the game because Sam was going to be, doing this thing, man. With this offense, bro, how can you not, right? You got my boy Addison. You got J.J. over there. I don't see how Sam wasn't going to have a good year. So I say that to say I still don't think it's out the window, bro, that they – don't sign Sam Darnold. My only thing with Sam Darnold being signed, though, is that they did get rid of Kirk Cousins because they didn't want to pay a quarterback. So I don't know if they necessarily want to do it now, Because let's be honest, Kirk Cousins was giving them 13 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins when he was there. So it's not like they were a sorry team when Kirk was there either. They just kind of got that defense in order that kind of helped them out. So I say all that to say the value on Sam Darnold to me, it depends on how quarterback needy you are. If you need a quarterback, let's just say you 2 quarterbacks in and you don't have no rookie picks and you feel like, damn, bro, I can't get one. Nobody going, they're going to overcharge me. Sam Darnold is my best bet. I would say in this class, because remember I just talked about that, Adam, right? I'm willing to trade the 107s, 108s, 109s, 110.
Yeah.
If you give me, if I could give you let's say the 108, I would say 109 for Sam Darnold right now, bro. I would do it.
Yeah. I think
if you let me get away with that, I think I would do
it. This one is going to be very interesting because there's just plain and simple, there's risk and reward to be had, and this is speaking of the poker reference, the nuts. This is a gambler's game. This is a gambler's game that has gambler type of things that are going to happen. The reality is this: if somehow, some way, Sam Darnold, right or wrong, walks out the door, I'm not saying he won't start somewhere, but where will that be? And that has massive types of upside and downside, more to be had on the downside, because you don't really get better in the situation he's in, that he's clearly thriving in. They like him, and he has weapons around him. Now, if he ends up getting, even if it's on a short-term deal, back in the door with Minnesota, I think that expectation will be that he's going to be the starter right away while JJ recovers and gets ready and acclimated, right? If it's a short term. And if they mess around and give him a 2 or 3 year deal where he has 2 or 3 years guaranteed money, I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, I want to put this on record. I do not expect that.
So
to
he
happen.
won't get a Kirk Cousins deal, is what you're saying? Because that's pretty much like the layout. Like, you know what I'm saying? The $100 million guaranteed coming out of free agency.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody expected Kirk to get that, to be honest. So,
well, here's the thing, though, right? Like you talked about this, Kirk he's had one season in 2022 where he was 13-4. Most of his years were very mid to above mid, right? 10-5, 7-9, 8-8. Like Kirk Cousins was coming off of a 4-4 season where he got hurt, and obviously you see when he went to Atlanta. I don't know if they had how much information they had about this, what their doctors had to say. They're like, I don't know. We're going to let Cousins walk. Now, Darnold is a different conversation because it's the same type of game, except for the only time he's been there, they're 14 wins. And that's why I say it's going to come down to, I really believe, a lot of what happens in this game in the big games, right? If he shines, God forbid he shines in the big games, Fizz, who knows? There's not actually anything to point to and say this is what that looks like, because that shit doesn't happen, right? If he fumbles, like really slips up, and he's the reason they lose, I think we have.
I just don't think he will, bro.
I don't think either. I'm trying to walk through the range of outcomes.
I'm basing my decision on what I just said, of him actually staying there. Like, I really believe he made it to the point where NFC Championship game. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win it, but making it there is very possible.
Well, it is, but just think about it this way, right? Just think about the range of outcomes I wanted to say, because you can go. I want to hear all your thoughts. But if they win this game versus Detroit, they're going to likely have the 1 seed. If they lose, they have the 5 seed, right? So all of a sudden they lose that game, they could be on the road and then lose in the playoffs, even if he plays mid. All of a sudden, if they were the 5 seed and they lost in the first round, I'm not saying that he couldn't come back, but the conversation is wildly different than if they are getting a bye in the first round of the playoffs because he beat Detroit, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna lose to the Bucs if they play the Bucs, bro. I think them having the 5 seed is perfect because they would never play the Lions. Well, I ain't gonna say never, right? Because if one team lose, they can't. But they wouldn't be the lowest seed coming in, which means I think they could possibly play the Lions in the NFC Championship. I just truly believe they're the best 2 teams in the NFC, like, period. I know Philly is one of those teams. I'm not saying they aren't. They have one of the best defense, if not the best defense in the league. But I've always stood on this year coaching. And if I'm betting my money on who's the best in the NFC, right now Detroit is number 1. Vikings are number 2 and Philly is 3, and there's no other reason because if the Vikings play Detroit, it's going to be who coached that game better. But if the Vikings play Philly, I think it's going to come to who coached that game better. I don't think it had nothing to do with Sam Darnold versus Hurts, Barkley versus Aaron Jones, JJ versus AJ Brown. I think it's going to come to that last drive, who got the ball and who coached this game better. Like, that's just what I think, because these 3 teams are just very good teams. And coaching matters, and I just think O'Connell and Ben Johnson are better than Kellen Moore. So when it comes down to who can win these games, other than Jaden Daniels, because I just said this the other day, Jaden Daniels is probably the only wild card in this playoffs to me, because we've seen him win like 5 games in the last drive. Like, I don't think necessarily that was coaching. That was just him doing what he had to do. Outside of him, I just think a lot of these NFC games are going to come down to coaching, bro. And I think coaching matters with Detroit and Minnesota, and unfortunately in Philly, they don't have the coaching that the other 2 teams have. So I think Minnesota and Detroit, man, is one of those is going to make the Super Bowl, is what I'm trying to say.
I gotcha. Now, I mean, listen,
which is going to drive Sam Darnold's price up, and
for sure.
Actually
now, I mean,
keep it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair statement to say that you betting on one of those to make it. But if the reason that this game is so important, if to your point, right? Yes, I think the Vikings, in just a straight up matchup, we just talk everything out the window. I would bet on them, like venue aside, all that, to beat the Bucs. But the Bucs also, this team, when it's good, is been
they're a wild card for sure,
bro. They absolutely, they went all the way to the West Coast and beat the absolute fucking piss out of the Chargers. Like, that shit actually hasn't really happened. The Chargers haven't gotten mollywopped by people. So I just think that the Bucs right now, it's a wild card discussion enough. And it's funny about wild card weekend, where if they lose a really close game to Detroit, and then they mess around and lose to the Bucs week 1 of the playoffs, like that's not actually crazy to say. That's not actually crazy. But that's my point. That's probably these are the range of outcomes, right? If that happens, they have to weigh in. All right, we got JJ. Should we go to him? Like, we saw what happened in the meaningful games. I'm not saying they're going to guarantee do anything, but there's also the middle, which is maybe God forbid, what if they win the game versus Detroit, right? And then they have a bye. And now all of a sudden they're at least in the semis and possibly, one win away from going to the NFC title. There's a range of outcomes here. The 109 in this class, I don't hate it necessarily because of the fact that there's no quarterbacks. But I just think about it this way. Sam Darnold right now, if he stays in Minnesota, because you look at Warp, right? Sam Darnold this year is a fucking cheat code, fellas. Like, I hate to tell y'all, but he was a cheat code, my friends.
I sold him in 2 leagues, bro. One for a second rounder and one to move up in the first. So trust me, you don't got to tell me.
That is tough.
And that was before the injury to JJ and all that. Like,
yeah,
it might have been the day of, like, literally when the news broke, and it was like, oh, here go Sam Darnold. You want him now? But I didn't think he was going to take off like this. I know he was going to be a good quarterback, but
yeah. Well,
man,
we were just talking about Jalen Hurts and how much we would want to go pay for him, right? We would pay. You were talking about 101. Rob was saying I really meant 101, 106 in Love. I said 101 in Love. You said that might be high. Sam Darnold right now in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, standard scoring. Outside of that, he's quarterback 7 to Jalen Hurts quarterback 8 in Warp.
Yeah.
There's range of outcomes where it's really high. The problem is, right, we have seen Sam Darnold be like a Jameis Winston, quarterback 24. We've seen, like, if he goes to a bad situation, just think about this. Baker and Sam Darnold 2 years ago were both in Carolina and left because the situation was shitty, right? So,
yeah.
The 109 for me it's one of those things where my risk tolerance probably would not be to lean into it, just because I know what the upside is. We've obviously seen it, but I also am leery of the downside. Whereas the 109, maybe it doesn't get me Sam Darnold safely, but it gets me, what other quarterbacks could I get, right? Can I get a different type of a cheaper player? Like, what's Dak going to dip to? I'm not going to say he's going to get 109.
I was just going to say, like, what Dak and Baker, like, where are they compared to Sam in people's minds, right? If Sam Darnold, now I'm with you. If Sam goes to the Jets, nah, I think I might try and roll my hand with that 109 later. But
sure,
I'm just banking on him being in that Minnesota. Like, I just think, man, it's gonna be so hard, bro. Especially knowing what JJ McCarthy was.
Appreciate you, Dynasty
in
Rehab.
college. Yeah, what up, Dynasty Rehab? We appreciate you, big dog. Knowing what JJ McCarthy was in college, where he never really threw the ball much, and even though we know he can throw it, his resume says that he doesn't throw it, right? So we don't have the game film and all that to say that he's going to do what Sam Darnold just did. But knowing that Sam is a vet and Sam has been around, he clearly has the respect and love with everybody in the locker room and the coaches.
They waited to celebrate.
I'm making on staying in Minnesota, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think Sam's leaving, man. Be honest. Whether it's a 1-year deal where they overpay him or 2 years guaranteed,
right?
I don't think that he's gonna leave. I just think.
No,
I think JJ having two knee surgeries, bro. Like, if I'm O'Connell, hey, listen, man. Just chill. We just watched Jordan Love sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years. No reason why JJ McCarthy can't sit for another 2.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I mean,
100%. I would let JJ sit for another 2. Let Sam do his thing. If we go to the NFC Championship, I'm not letting him go, man. Can't do it.
Well, and that's the other thing too about it, right? You talked about this. I mean, JJ's coming off the injury, and this doesn't mean them signing him to a short-term deal. Right. Well, it doesn't mean that they have to be out on J.J. McCarthy long term if they gave a short term deal to Sam Darnold. And it also, you look at the Atlanta situation. Now, Cousins was hurt. I think we can all admit that's partly why he played so bad. But if Sam Darnold was to fall off a cliff next year, if teams figured him out, we still got J.J. ready to go. So
still got him.
One thing is, man,
and to be honest, not to cut you off, but I always say this during the draft process. People forget. The Minnesota Vikings, when they got them 2 first, we all thought, oh, they're going to trade up to the 104, 105, get the guy. JJ fell to them where they didn't have to move up. So technically, I think they took him because he basically fell to them. So it's no urgency. Yeah, because remember they got the Texans pick, but that Texans pick is where they got Verse. They went and got Jared Verse. On defense, no, my fault. Versus in LA, they got for Alabama, the DN.
They ended up keeping that pick, but they traded up to get McCarthy. So they sent it. Minnesota traded 11.
No, they traded up
11, right?
I thought 11 was their original pick.
So they traded 11, 129, and 157. It was a 1-pick swap. Really wasn't much, but they traded away 129 and 157.
That's right.
Yeah, to go up to 10. So it basically
but
from
the
cost
they
points.
Trade up. They didn't trade 2 first like everybody thought to go get whoever they wanted. Like they stayed put kind of in a sense and got JJ. So I'm just saying that to say the urgency to make him play because, we gave up the future. We got to play him. I don't think it's the urgency, bro. He literally fell down to you, and you can let him sit. Let him chill, man.
Gino, what's up, man? The one thing is, to your point, it was a low-cost acquisition.
Bro?
Gene, my guy, man. Happy New Year to you. But the cost of acquisition to move up wasn't extraordinary. I think that's why they did it. But they also were like, look, we don't even want to wait till 11. We want to go get him. I think they have enough definitely invested in him where they want to make it work, but at the same point, that's an investment that they're not willing to forego if Sam Darnold has this team winning the 1 seed in the entire NFC. So it's a wild one. It's a wild one, and I don't want to do the entire show on this because
I know, right?
It's I'm telling you,
good topic.
I could talk about it all day, and so could Fizz, and I think we have good opinions and good reasons. But I promise you, someone's going to talk about it tomorrow, and someone's going to ask about it. It's going to change drastically.
It ain't going nowhere.
And I will say, if he ends up not in Minnesota, y'all better pray. Y'all better pray, because I know there's somebody coming for heads because he is not feeling it. Forcing JJ in next year would be a huge risk. It would be, but it also kind of depends on what it's going to actually cost to keep Darnold, how he plays, and also one of the things too will be interesting to see if they find a way to get a pick out of this in a trade. What's good?
Yeah, if I'm Darnold, bro, listen, y'all love me enough. An extra $8 million ain't gonna hurt me, bro. $10 million ain't gonna hurt me, man. Just pay me something. I'm good. I'm staying here for 2 years, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? It's a what do you call it? This is a 1-year sample out of a career that has been not very good, but also in a situation where he's never really been in a good situation. This is the first one.
That's what I'm saying. He go to the Jets and be out the league in 2 years, man. Just leave me in Minnesota for 2 years. Pay me something good, and I'm here, brother.
And the truth is, right, he has some scary stats. He still puts the ball in harm's way. But ultimately, you should kind of put the ball in harm's way a little bit when you got 18 out there. You got 3 out there. So he right now is playing, this season anyway, at a high level. Just you cannot argue that point. Now, long term and short term, totally different conversation. We'll see what happens. I wanted to say this though. We had a good question that I wanted to get to. Go ahead. What's up?
We got a new one that just came up too once you're done with this one. Because remember that we originally was supposed to be talking about the rookie receivers, and that last one we just got. That's the one. Oh, that's it right there. Yeah.
How do y'all think is the one? Oh, who do you think is the wide receiver one of the draft? I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the best. He's a dog and has been producing with banged up Trevor and Mac Jones. Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't get the Brock. I'll get the Brock, but I'll talk about Brian Thomas right now. Good pivot back.
Good way to bring us back to the we supposed to be.
And
right?
here, look.
So this is what we supposed to be anyway.
Logan, I got you queued. I got you starred. All right. We're good. I'll come back to you. All right. But I wanted to get to this. All right. So Brian Thomas Jr. I think this one here is going to be polarizing and interesting as well. It's not going to be as interesting probably as Darnold because, listen, there is no denying Brian Thomas Jr. is a very good receiver, a stud. Like, I have my concerns about him being in the elite tier long term, but at the same time, like, I am not here to fight the agenda of Brian Thomas balling out because here's the truth. He is wide receiver 5 in his rookie season, also with mid-quarterback play and inconsistent quarterback play in warp, right? Now, warp per game, just to let the haters know, that's still Malik's. That's still Malik's territory. But there's nothing to hate on Brian Thomas Jr.'s game. And I just want you to think about this. Brock Bowers is going to set records at as a tight end for receiving records for rookies. But
yeah.
And Malik Nabers also is setting his own records in the NFL. Brian Thomas has more yards than both of these guys at this point right now. He is very interesting too from the standpoint of for me, I'm curious where you're at on him in this class. One thing I don't think he gets enough love on is in that offense. See, one thing, dude, Brian Thomas has double-digit touchdowns in a absolutely woke situation right now. So for the record, when you look at wide receiver rookie seasons, there has only been 9 where you're talking double-digit touchdowns. Randy Moss, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, Mike Ditka, old school Bill Groman, Harlan Hill, who you never heard of, Brian Thomas Jr. Literally, the company in which that is, crazy. Now think about this. Randy Moss had a QB. Jamar Chase had a QB. Odell didn't. Mike Evans, debatable. But like Brian Thomas right now, there's a lot to like. The one thing that I'm curious on where you're at is the one thing I still don't like is the cost. So where are you at with Brian Thomas Jr.? Wide receiver one of this draft if we redid it, or is it Malik for you?
See, this is my thing, right? I'm a little biased, and it's more so because I don't trust the Jaguars to do anything right, bro. It has nothing to do with Brian Thomas. It has nothing to do with how great or how bad he is. I just think I trust, and it's funny. I brought this up the other day, and somebody said, "What have the Giants done in this last decade?" So I kind of like put my own foot in my mouth. I was like, "Yeah, you're kind of right," but I will say I feel like the coaching is always going to be better in New York because they New York, bro. I feel like the Giants are always going to build something around something because they're New York, right? They're a team that no matter how ugly and bad they are structurally, they're in the city that people and players and coaches want to be in. Jacksonville, to me, they're never going to, as a team, now I'm not talking Brian Thomas in general, as a team, get better because nobody wants to go. You got to overpay players to get there. And my biggest fear is that Brian Thomas is going to be stuck in that limbo of, man, I can't wait to get out of here because I'm tired of losing. Like right now, it look good. He's fresh. He's new to the game. But give him 2 years in Jacksonville, and he might be like, man, get me out of here. It seems to happen all the time with these young guys, man, when they get to places like that, right? And I think skill-wise, he came from LSU, so we know what he could do. I mean, Brian Thomas is one of them ones, but I'm betting on Malik Nabers over Brian Thomas only because I like New York over Jacksonville. That's how I'm gonna leave it. It has nothing to do with the players in general or how they both are. I'm gonna just go with the system and the structure around them, and I just don't trust Jacksonville to keep him happy through the course of his rookie contract and beyond. So
okay,
I think I'm gonna roll with Malik Nabers because I think they're gonna do a lot more to get him what he needs versus what Jacksonville is gonna do in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get that. I get the standpoint of the franchises. For me, when it comes to these two. There's a lot that goes into it. One, I think right now today we all love Brian Thomas Jr. because how he's played, and that makes a ton of sense. And honestly, the one thing I've talked about go back and check the receipts on this. I talked about this before the NFL draft happened. Brian Thomas Jr. is a size speed freak that I don't think people realize how athletic he is, and we're starting to see that. One thing though that with him, the value insulation I don't believe is quite the same with him and Malik as if there was a little bit of a fall next year. Because listen, the dude has been balling. One of the things that's been really propelling his stats into...
You've been having a lot of big plays, though. Like, a lot of, 60-yard bombs. And I think Mac Jones is really, man, he played better to me with Mac Jones than he did Trevor. I think a lot of that, though, this has always been my big point with rookies, right?
Yeah.
Trevor is a big dog. Trevor is, the principal of the team.
He was the chosen one,
right? Exactly. So, Mac Jones... kind of being new, still young, still learning. I'm pretty sure he went to the rookie and said, "Hey man, what's up with you? I'm new. Let me walk you around." Like those big dogs in the system, they always. I'm not saying Trevor probably isn't reachable, but the rookies can always talk to the younger guys. So Mac Jones being a backup, probably just trying to meet and greet people. He might have a better relationship with Brian Thomas than Trevor will because Trevor is already established. He's already there. This is my team. He got to learn everybody. Mac Jones probably just, I'm here for whoever's available and want to kick it with me. You know what I'm saying? So I think Mac Jones might have built a better relationship early with Brian Thomas than maybe Trevor anyway, because Trevor has to get everybody around. Mac just got to kick it with whoever's, want to kick it with him. So a lot of that I think has to do with it too, because Mac is the backup, and hey, you my guy, I'm throwing it to you. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think
that's why I think he's at bigger games with Mac to me.
The rapport there definitely can be a big piece of it. There's no way to act like that's not possible.
But he's still a dog, though. He's still a dog.
No, and none of this. These are nitpicking things, okay, guys. I don't want to make sure everybody's clear. I'm not telling you that Brian Thomas isn't good. I like the player. I think he's very talented. But one of the things when you look at specifically, right, you're talking about right now the team that has been trotted out since the 15th, which is the last 3 weeks. No Evan Ingram, no Christian Kirk. Like all the weapons that you thought were kind of something were devoid. They're gone. Parker Washington's has some moments, and Mac Jones has at times delivered better than expected results. But the biggest thing is starting in December, the bump in which target volume Brian Thomas got was double digits every single game. Now, that can speak a little bit to the rapport. That can speak a little bit to the lack of success and the fact that we see this young ascending rookie. We better get him the ball. It could be the fact that T-Law maybe didn't, gel quite as well, but it's also that's an early part of the year. What the biggest thing for me when Brian Thomas going into next year is this version of double-digit targets every time existing? If that's the case, or even close, even if it's not, like let's say this is closer to the mean, Brian Thomas is going to be him in an elite, because if he has that type of game-breaking ability and has NFL type high-end target share coming his way, there's nothing to really poke a hole in. The problem is if you look at the games before that, and if Trevor Lawrence is back under center, and they have even if he's not healthy or 100%, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram's back, right? Target competitions around him. If the targets are 7, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 8, 4, 4, that target volume is only boom or bust with big playability, right? So the conundrum for me is Brian Thomas actually going to earn alpha level targets for a sample size of more than 5 games? If that answer is yes, and that hits, you're going to be in elite territory. You're going to go to, no matter what you think, having to say he's him. I just don't know right now that I can confidently say that the situation he's in and the quarterback change, the team, the players that are going to be coming back, that I'm not quite necessarily ready to bet on him getting the target volume that Malik Nabers has gotten every single time he's on the field.
Yeah, and who's to say, man, if Doug Peterson's replaced, who's to say the next coach that comes won't make this a run first team, right? Like, I feel like it's a lot of different changes that can happen in Jacksonville because of how bad they are and how unorthodox, how dysfunctional of a franchise they are. Versus, I know the Giants, again, they're not that much better functionally, but I just think they have a better like ground set level where we kind of know what's going to happen, right? I think with, and well, I don't know what if Jake was talking about today, but I did say that Houston, the Texans need to call Mike Jones, man, because they damn sure look pretty bad, man. So shout out to the Texans for hopefully calling their Mike Jones. He ain't changed his number, baby. It's still on. I still know about heart, man, in case y'all need him. But yeah, I just think structurally though, bro, the Jaguars, the Jaguars structurally to me, they're unorthodox, man. They can literally get a Brian Flores, defensive first head coach, and then bring in, a random OC and become a run team out of nowhere, right? They could go 1-2 with Tank and ETN, and then you like, man, hold up. Brian Thomas only got 700 yards. This is week 17. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, that could literally happen in Jacksonville to me. I don't think it's going to happen in New York. So I would take Nabers just for the simple fact I like the structure and the belief of them keeping it going in New York.
Yeah, and I mean, if Brian Thomas isn't wide receiver 7 type territory, I'm not nitpicking like this. The problem is for me, this is where it's getting a little bit rich for my blood. I'm not saying I push him down too much further than that, honestly, because of the fact that he is young. He has had a great season. A lot of people like him, and he's an extremely movable and liquid asset. But I would lean Nabers as far as that goes. Let me ask you this big question. Is Brian Thomas ahead of Marv?
Chart wise, ranking wise, yes, but
fizzles, chart wise, ranking wise, feeling wise, whatever it is for Fizz.
No, I'm just saying to the masses, I probably yes. To me, no.
Okay.
Because
so you would still draft Marv ahead of BTJ.
Because coming in, we all, like I said, we took Marv at the 101, bro, over quarterbacks like Caleb and Jay Daniels in a lot of leagues. So if he came in that way and he didn't necessarily pop off year one, if he does a year 2 and I traded Brian Thomas and him straight up, let's just say next year, Marv with Murray does what BTJ is doing this year, and then BTJ redacts and goes back to doing what Marv did this year, you're going to kick yourself in the ass for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm okay with rolling the dice with Marv, knowing the history of his bloodline, him having the better quarterback situation, like Kyler Murray over Trevor Lawrence. We can agree with that, right?
Yeah, come on.
Okay, all right. Let's make it sure. So I'm just saying, knowing that right there, the quarterback alone is going to keep me with Marv over BTJ. So.
Yeah, I think,
like I said, right, and I know a lot of people are going to say Thomas, and I agree right now. But if I'm keeping Marv. I'm not trading you Marv for BTJ straight up. I'm keeping Marv.
And the conversation here talks about we're at a point now. Like, I'll admit, here's where I was wrong about Brian Thomas. Right, that when I told you to move him, he continued to go up. So if you did move him, you've left some meat on the bone, likely. The problem now, no matter anybody will tell you, he is at the point of no return. Meaning, like he's neck and neck with Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Nabers, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. These are the people in front of him. Right? Oh yeah, he's at the tier now where this is the reality. He has to play the way in which he was playing in the back half of the season on more of a full-time basis to stay here. Staying power. Think about it from this way. Staying power. Marv stayed here because he disappointed. Marv's hanging around a couple spots behind, and we're having a conversation. Now, I don't necessarily think anyone's going to say right now with what we saw of playing, we're going to take Marv ahead. But the point is, Marv's still lurking despite having a pretty disappointing season relative to expectations. Mind you, the one thing, 110 targets is only behind Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Nabers. He just only caught 57. He only has 822 yards, but he still has 7 touchdowns. If they get it right, now I'm not going to say get it right. If they improve, let's say that. Okay, get it right means they go back to OG days where Marv goes out and puts up what Malik did plus. But if they even just improve, they get chemistry rapport, those 110 targets, let's say that probably ends up being 115, 120 for the season. That becomes 120 for 80, 70, and he's got 14 touchdowns. It's not hard to see the flip-flop. Right, it could be hard now if you're living with recency bias of one season.
I mean, think about this. Trey McBride is tight end 2, literally, and didn't have but one touchdown. He just got it last week. So the touchdowns could change everything for Marv. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
it wasn't a lot of touchdowns thrown in Arizona. And I see mixing it up says something about Marv is on the CeeDee Lamb type of trajectory, 2.5 years. I'm going to give you one even better, bro. Marv can be what JSN was, right? Both coming from OSU. Marv this year didn't give us what we wanted. JSN first year didn't give us what he wanted. By week 6 of 2024, JSN, he was taking off every single week. The hype was getting better and better, realer and realer. And let's just say Marv starts off slow again. By week 6 or 7, he start giving us what JSN has been giving us over the last 10, 11 weeks. We all gonna say, damn, I wish I would have had that Marv shit back, man. No matter, I'm gonna be honest, ATM, no matter what BTJ does, coming into the draft, we all wanted Marv. And if BTJ only has 20 more catches and 200 more yards, you still gonna want Marvin Harrison at the end of the day. The name capital is gonna mean more to a lot of people than an extra 20 points in fantasy.
Well, that's ultimately a big conversation for the player. This is where the gamers differ very much. I've noticed this the more and more I've just, kicked it with people, man. Because for me, I kind of lean, if I'm having a tiebreaker, on what is the tradability, what is the value, what do people fiend for this, right? Almost like it's a drug. Man, the Marv thing, I feel like the people haven't left. They just got real quiet, the Marv stance, right? They're just real quiet right now. It wouldn't take much for them to be back. This is not a knock on Brian Thomas Jr. I think right now, for me, Brian Thomas,
knock on him at all.
I think Brian Thomas Jr. in the class is going to be still my wide receiver 3. But this is the thing. He's ahead of Rome. And ultimately, for me, I think wide receiver 3 in this class can sound like what it is against the class. Relative to the entire dynasty landscape, wide receiver 3 in this class is absolutely no shame, and it's really a very, very luxurious place to be in dynasty.
I'm gonna say this, ACM. Instead of him being 3, can he just be tier 2 with Marv? They just a tie, and then we break off the tier.
Sure.
Instead of putting them 3, can we just say
I think they're different
Nabers
bets
here, Marv and Thomas here, like they right neck and neck. You know what I'm saying? Like I that's how I look at it. I'm just taking Marv over him, but I wouldn't be heartbroken if you took Marv and I took BTJ right after. Like it wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm going up crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just think they right here. I just prefer having Marv because I see, give me some time with him. He gonna be exactly what I want him to be. So
yeah, what you hit on there is very. I like that call where it's. They're probably same tier for people because you're going to see him drafted. I think you might even see more Brian Thomas Jr. ahead. You still have some Marv stands out there. Yeah. But the point is they're different bets, right? Marv is a safer bet just because of the player, like prospect name craziness.
Yep.
Still has some upside. But Brian Thomas Jr., if you're chasing what he did this year and if he can piggyback on that and even excel, there's still upside to be had. It's just he's getting very close to what that is. They're different bets for me. I would lean Marv, but yeah, to your point, I agree. They are definitely all ahead of Lad McConkey. But listen, let's talk about real quick Brock Bowers. Let's talk about Brock Bowers, the tight end that plays receiver. People get big mad when Mike and I talk about Brock Bowers. And listen, let me just say this before I say anything else, okay? The tight end position in general is one that Mike and I fade because of the position and because of the way that you can build a team around it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to build your team that way, but we've highlighted this with Warp. We've highlighted this for a lot of different reasons. Understand there's a layer of the strategy side of that baked into the conversation we have, or at least I have with Brock. I'm curious your thoughts on Brock, though, Fizz. I know you're a Pitts truther. Yeah, what about Brock Bowers? What about Brock Bowers, though?
I'm going to say this, bro. Coming into this season, remember last year we had Rapport, we had Tucker Craft, we had all these guys, Dalton Kincaid. Like, we just knew coming into this season, oh, man, the tight end position is back. You know what I'm saying? It's the young guys are taking over. They about to be better than ever, blah, 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 blah. Now, we see Laporta started off poorly. Like, I don't know if that was a JMO thing. Could have been. But Kincaid, we don't even know if he's even in the league half the time, right? So it went from here to there real quick. It went from 100 to 0 real quick. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that's going to happen to Bowers, but I am going to proceed with caution because I think I've learned my lesson on the rookie fandom of the tight end position. Like, I've always been a guy that think that's preach tight ends matter. Y'all always say that they don't. Watching what happened this year, I'm not going to say that Brock is going to be any worse, but I don't think he can ever be better than what he was this year, one. And two, his circumstances are going to change, which means maybe he was that because Devontae Adams left. They was going through a quarterback corral where the quarterback just basically looked at him like he's leading rookies in receptions right now. If he gets a new quarterback, if he gets another receiver, maybe that 100 receptions goes to 85 or 90. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's going to top where he is. So my expectations are going to be a little lower. But I do believe he's tight end 100%. I do believe Trey McBride, with him having Kyler Murray as his quarterback and having already, grown with him over the years, maybe is pushing him for that tight end 1 spot. So I would give it to him and McBride as 1 and 2. But overall, coming into this season, whatever you have Brock as to say, startup wise, I think Laporta was going to like the 3rd round in some leagues I saw.
Yeah, he was going late 2nd, early 3rd.
Yeah, so me seeing that and seeing what Laporta did, I think if we talking 3rd round for tight ends, I got to drop it 1 round. I'm going to the 4th then. Like, I don't think I can do what I did this year with seeing what Laporta did with all those targets, all those touchdowns. We just knew Laporta was 101 tight end position, no questions asked, right? After seeing what happened this year with tight ends, bro, I think no matter how I feel about Brock, and I love Brock, I'm a Michael Mayer guy too, though, so I'm a little salty that he's still behind him. But regardless, I got to drop Brock 1 round just because of what I just saw this year from tight ends. But he's still the 101 at tight end position, 100%. He's a dog. I'm just not going to value him like I would have last year when I saw what the rookie tight ends did.
Yeah, there's some interesting points here, and I'll give some kudos to Brock Bowers, the player, the prospect, aside from the reality of fantasy and the way I approach it and think about most of my leagues. And Fizz, you talked about this already early in the show. The settings are incredibly important here. Most tight end 100%. Premiums don't matter, so that's first and foremost. Here's what I'll say about Brock Bowers, though. Sam Laporta, Mike knew about him. Mike was trying to tell people about him for a while, but Sam was a late riser. He got a 2nd-round draft capital. He was a great rookie. But even still, he was not as good as Brock Bowers is, and he was not nearly as revered and regarded as Brock Bowers, the prospect, is. Brock Bowers is basically a more complete actual tight end than with the same type of pedigree as like Kyle Pitts, right? And he came out and defied the odds, similar to Malik. And here's the reality. If you're chasing in your league, the hammer one, right? Even whether you thought it was Laporta or not, and you missed, right? Whether you thought it was Pitts or not, and you missed. If you're trying to do this thing where you're chasing who's the next Jordan, right? Who's the next Kelsey? This is very sensible. It makes a lot of sense. He's pretty complete. And to your point, like, it'd be hard to see him do a lot better just because, I mean, damn, he's highest in the NFL already with targets. Yeah. There's not much more targets to be had. Yeah. But there is potential for quarterback play to improve. There's probably potential for touchdowns to go up. He's only got 4. All that said, let's live in the world where the bet you want to make is that, and you believe in the prospect. I have nothing on the prospect to tell you negatively, okay? Here's what I'll say, though. Where he's going and where he's likely to go, especially relative to most of these formats and tight end premiums, don't matter. We're talking about 1.5 tight end premium, 1.75 tight end premium. Mm-hmm. If he hits Kelsey, he's still in the range of other skill players that can score like him. Now, you could have the tight end hammer, but the point is he's going to be at a cost of acquisition where he has to be Kelsey, and then he probably pans out for the investment you make at this point. So for me, that's why with Brock Bowers, there's nothing against the player. I think he actually is one of the players that could have enough snap share, not be a problem the way coaches use him, and have very good success as a tight end. I just don't know that, one, I want to bet on him being the number 1 tight end finisher every single year. He could be 5. He could be 7, have a very good season, but not be the number 1. And you're paying right now for the tight end premium plus. Right now, I want to think about this real quick before I pass it to you, Fizz. Non-tight end premium. That means they get the same points per catch as everybody else. Keep trade cut. Whatever you think about him or not. 8 overall in Superflex. So you tell me right now, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Bijan, then Brock. Ahead of Nabers. Like, I think there's going to be a point of silliness, to be completely honest with you, with how high Brock's going. That's going to be the problem I have.
Yeah. And that's my biggest thing, right? I'm not taking anything from Brock or what he's done, but his value is going to be so high. So basically, right, what I said about Malik Nabers in this draft class, how I was waiting for him to kind of not play the way we thought he would so I could buy him later. That's kind of how I feel about Brock. If Brock, I'm not drafting Brock at all in any dynasty startups in 2025 because I know he's going to go way higher than what I want him to be. But me knowing that, he can also, by week 7, be what Rapport was this year, right? I'm pretty sure some people bought Rapport way lower than what somebody drafted him, and now they reaping those benefits of having them late. Like Rapport for the last 6 weeks, he done put up double-digit, weeks every week, right? 5 catches, sometimes 40 yards and a touchdown. He scored, I think, a touchdown 4 of the last 5 games, if I am mistaken. So if you look at Rapport and where he started versus where he finished, the same scenario can be with Brock. Now, I know Brock is better than Rapport. We can all guarantee we can speak on that. But because the Raiders wouldn't have taken – I don't even think the Raiders even wanted him where they took him. They just said, listen, we're not going to let this – phenomenon passes. Like it is what it is. He shouldn't have failed to us. We're gonna take him. But personally, I just think he's gonna go way too high because of what he did. So I just gotta fall back. If I can get him late, cool. If I can buy him for the low after an injury or two, cool. But coming into a startup draft, unfortunately, man, if I don't have Brock already, I ain't never gonna get him because he's gonna go to way too high. And there's other guys that play the receiver position that I know for a fact I can trust a little bit. Devonta Smith or Brock Bowers, who we taking? Because I know Smitty is going. He right there on that 4th round range, in a sense.
I'll tell you the thing about Brock Bowers, right? If he will never get to that range, to your point, right? If he was to, the temptation for me to take him is that I know people want him so much earlier than that, and I'm betting on now.
But moving him. When I say that, I mean
holding him.
So when I say Smitty or Bowers, I mean, would you let Bowers slide past you, take another player, and still get Devonta Smith later? You know what I'm saying? Like almost like how I treat value? The AJ Brown thing. So basically, when people know how I always talk about Doodoo Brown, right? I'm just not a Doodoo Brown guy. That's not my guy. So instead of drafting him where he's valued, I'd rather just take somebody else there and then get Smitty 2 rounds later, because I feel like they almost close in value when you look at the numbers towards the end of the year. So when I look at Devonta Smith and where he lines up, I think him and Bowers statistically can be around the same range next year. Maybe not the receptions, but yardage and all that, man. I don't see why Smitty can't be right there with Brock. And I could just wait around and get him.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point. There's a couple things. One, if I had a tight end that's as valuable as Brock, because of the way the tight end position and the landscape is, I am going to be looking to extract the value out of that in the tear down and grab tight ends that they're not going to score like Brock, but I'm going to be able to start putting that into my lineup and building that value somewhere else. It's just the way I'm going to play and approach a position. Yeah. I probably realistically would go after a Bowers if, 1, the price wasn't egregious as we're seeing in the market today, and 2, I was in a position of found money. This is one of my best teams, and I'm trying to complete the Avengers or something. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I'm not going to build around him. Matt B said this. Who hated on Brock at the 107? I will be the first to tell you I did. Him versus JJ is not even a discussion. There's not even a discussion. So there's definitely that. But Brock Bowers, for me, even if I have him at this value, I think this is probably a time where I would be looking to see what I could get out of him in a trade, just because his production right now with what his dynasty cost is. Someone was pretty upset in the comments about it. Like, you can't say that for sure. I can't say it for sure. It's highly, highly unlikely for him to pay off production-wise what his dynasty value cost is. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And like I already said, bro, I know it's always we don't know what's going to happen. Like, nobody knows, right? But I feel like his value is never going to be as high as it is right now. The only way it gets higher is if he gets Pat Mahomes as his quarterback and he replaced Travis Kelce. Other than that, I don't see Brock Bowers' value being any higher than what it is right now. Coming into 2025 Dynasty startup, he's a third rounder guaranteed, right? Me personally, I'm not paying that price, one. And two, if you want him for that price and I have him on my team, I'm bleeding you, bro. I'm bleeding you. Whatever your future is, I need it. I need all of it because you believe in him this much. I'm gonna show you why you shouldn't have made this move. So I love Bowers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ever taking nothing away from him, the person. I just think the value in the people's eyes after seeing what just happened with these tight ends in the last year. Like I said, Tucker Kraft has scored a touchdown almost every game this year. If you had, let's just say you traded Brock Bowers for 2 firsts and Tucker Kraft, right? Because that possibly could have happened. Tucker Kraft gave you a touchdown.
That's a trade I think you could still get done today in a lot of
100%. And I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm just saying you got 2 firsts coming into this draft plus Tucker Kraft, who scored you a touchdown almost every single game. Still has Jordan Love as his quarterback. Christian Watson can't stay healthy. The ways of Tucker Kraft still producing and giving you 8 to 13 points a week is still valuable, and you got 2 firsts on top of it. So I would do that than to just hold Brock and pray that this new quarterback he gets looks at him every single down like Aiden O'Connell did.
For sure. I think a couple points here. Excuse me. Brock Bowers right now, actually in a non-tight end premium league, a warp per game, he is tight end 2 behind George Kittle. Now, that's not to say that he's not going to get better. That's not to say that this is as his rookie season what you should be expecting as a ceiling. But there's also there's some other things to think about real quick. Go ahead, Fizz. Go ahead. What do you got?
I was going to say read that last message we just got. Mix it up. We just pinpoint, target, emoji, boom. Pinpoint, target, emoji, man.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. I just read the person that's ahead. But basically, Kittle and Bowers, as far as warp goes, they're trade-offs. But basically no different as well as Trey McBride. This is non-tight end premium, okay? So tight end premium is going to put a little more of a premium on all those catches he got this year. But non-tight end premium, you got Trey McBride right there neck and neck. Jonnu Smith, no different. So it's 0.128. Trey McBride's 0.122. Jonnu Smith, 0.118. David Njoku, 0.109. Travis Kelce, 0.094. The point is, I just named 6 tight ends that all of them right now don't cost anywhere near what Brock does. And they can probably give you points that are in the range, if not higher. So that's ultimately the reality for me with Brock is not anything about the player, the prospect. I actually think he probably is one of the guys that is more likely to continue to have success. But for fantasy, it's not success I'm willing to bet on.
I mean, look at Zach Ertz. Look at Jake Ferguson when Dak was healthy, right? I mean, it's a million tight ends, bro. We can go down the line and say, look at Mark Andrews once he got healthy, right? People was ready to throw Mark Andrews out of a window. Like, man, he's washed. He's done. It's Likely's job. It's very unlikely that it was going to happen, brother. So I say that to say Brock Bowers is clear 101 to me at tight end position. I just don't want to buy him at that price. Yeah. So if you have him, congratulations. See if somebody else is feeling the way that a lot of people seem to be feeling the bottom. Because I would be looking to sell them for the highest bidder if someone is looking to overspend. But I'm not just giving them away because I just need to, get off of them. So if you got them, keep them. But if you also have them, sell them if someone's willing to just outrageously buy.
Well, that's the thing, and this is a good point. Value is all league based, right? It is.
That's it.
It is.
So know your league. One
thing I would be willing to put on wax in the large majority. There's obviously exceptions to every rule. Brock Bowers is a coveted asset across the board, and even in leagues where maybe the tight end position overall is devalued, I promise you, there's people in there that still covet Brock Bowers. The reality of the value thing is where what I don't know for sure is how close to market all these other guys I just mentioned are. Like how cheap can I find a guy like TJ Hawkinson on the low this season, right? How cheap can I get old crusty Zach Ertz, right? Like I'm not going to say he did that well this year, but like Mark Andrews had a dip. There's plenty of tight ends that I think I can go out there and find a palatable replacement level tight end. It's not going to be Brock Bowers. It's very not likely to be that.
And not even this tight end, bro. Like I just said, the Smitty thing. You can mess around and get
Well, that's the point.
A Devonta Smith and a tight end, right? Somebody can give you a Tucker Kraft and a Devonta Smith. And I would do that every day of the week if you ask me. So I mean,
But
I
that's
don't mean
exactly
to keep
the
throwing
point.
Tucker Kraft out, but I'm just saying
No,
it doesn't have
fine.
to be tight end. It could be one of those receivers that people kind of on the fringe with. Jordan Addison, we've seen this year. I know a lot of people weren't on his wave, but if you can get a Jordan Addison and a plus for Bowers, I mean, I'm an Addison guy, so I wouldn't think twice about it. But there's a lot of things you can do.
This topic still needs to be covered, Chris. I appreciate the input, but we're not on the next topic because this is the last topic. Actually, we're at 2 hours of the show. But I will say this also: it's not just tight end by committee. It's more so that I'm looking to find a replaceable player that's not going to give you the same points. Okay, but the point is what Fizz said is the highlight. What people kind of think about is, oh, what do I have at tight end versus what I had? Well, how much better is Brian Thomas Jr.? That's probably a bad one now, but how much better is a guy like you just brought up, Devontae Smith, right? How much better is Devontae Smith than what you had in your flex spot? How much better is Jackson Smith and Jigba? Like, there's so many other options where that player now also is a movable liquid asset and can go into my lineup. Ultimately, that's what I'm trying to do with the tight end position. If I had a chance to keep Bowers and I was crazy loaded, sure. But at the value points where I see, for the most part, he's going in today, where people are going to be drafting him and valuing him, that's a cash out point for me. It doesn't have to be for you. Curious your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Brock Bowers. And ultimately, the whole point of this was to go over individual players. But I just want to make sure people are not missing this, okay? Whatever I say about Bowers, about Brian Thomas, whether you agree with me or disagree, this class had some misses for what we had in expectations. But this class is historic right now in multiple players.
Yes, sir.
And I want to make sure that we don't let that be missed. Ultimately, what you want to do with the asset at very high values is up to you. But we have right now some absolutely great performances and some gems in this 24 class, which gets to my final point. Next week, I want to do a redo of 24 rookies only. And the following week, we'll start getting into a little bit more of the 25 class. We're going to start seeing, does the 25 class, although not projected to be the 24 class, does it have some time in the rough? Do we have some players we need to start getting ahead of our league mates on, thinking about, and what kind of picks do we need to start getting right now before they become the hot commodity? Fizz, appreciate you hopping on. Anything you got for everybody?
Nah, man. Happy New Year's to everybody, man. I see Dynasty Key said we speaking some facts, bro. So shout out everybody who was in the chat. Any newcomers, newbies that want to join some Dynasty leagues, start up some leagues, man, keep tapping in with us this year. Help you win your leagues, show you how to join your leagues, what to do when you get in these leagues, and just stay tapped in with us, man. We got a lot going on. It's the off-season time. It's my time to shine because I feel like now I don't have to make anything up. I could just do what I feel is like right for the people. So, yeah, man, stay tapped in with us, bro. It's just January the 1st, and we see you here till January 1st, 2026, baby.
That's correct. 2025 just getting started. It's kind of crazy, man. 2025 still got to get used
I got to get used to writing that on my headings that when I write my, you know what I'm saying? The 2025 number. You got to get used to that now.
For sure. We got big things to look ahead to for our leagues already. Hopefully you guys did well in your leagues this year. Let me know down in the comments how you did. We got some feedback from people saying that, they did better this year than they did last year. Ultimately, you talked about this in the start of the show, Fizz. Getting better each day. I mean, you can challenge the results each year, but is your process improving? Do you feel like you're having more fun playing this game? That's ultimately what we're here for, right? We're trying to have fun. We're trying to also find the best way to win our leagues. And if you are interested in that, make sure you're tapping in with us moving forward. We got a whole 2025 coming up, and let us know. With the offseason, you have an opportunity to drive more of the content. So let us know what you're looking for. If you want to hear more about the 25 prospects, if you want to hear more about some of these rookies and how to value them in trades or what we would be doing, our opinions, we got you covered. Let us know. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just leave a comment, bro. Like you just said, man, if y'all leave the comments, I read all of them. So if you leave a comment, let us know what we missed, what you want to hear next week. I'm going to always, bring that topic up, brother. What we sipping on, man?
I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black Label. Now
I did say that
water because I'm trying to talk a show for 2 hours. I got damn Cottonmouth over here, but go ahead.
I was just about to say, bro, I just said it's 2025. Your boy ain't drinking as much. You ain't see me lift one cup the whole night. So even my vibe was a little different. So it was cool to kind of be a little sober, but I did drink a little earlier. So I said tonight I'm going to just chill. I got to get up at 5 in the morning anyway. So
I was going to say, yeah, man, like we already, it's 11:30. You got to get up at 5.
That's
so
it.
Leave
them comments though, baby. Leave them comments, man. We gonna read them, tap in, and give us some feedback on what we need to be hitting on. So that's the number one thing for me, man. Leave them comments, baby.
Yep, let us know. We want your feedback. We want your input. We want to engage with y'all this offseason and all of 2025. We love you. We'll see you back here next week. Hopefully Maddie can join us. He had a power outage, but we'll see you back next week, same time, same place. Love y'all. We're out of the same. Peace.